Hey guys, Mobile Gamers Unite. So I'm coming along on my free-to-play-ish account here, and let's pan that so you can kind of see. That's about where I'm at. Okay, everybody right now is about level 34, everybody that I'm using. So I figured it'd be a good time for me to shoot a video for beginners and mid-game content, because that's where I'm at right now too. So if you're new to the game, or if you're around level 30, 40, here's a few tips and things that might help you out. So we're going to start off with beginner characters. Which ones are worth anything at all. And it's Elmeta is absolute gold. So you need to work on her, definitely, okay? Because for high-end content, you're going to need her debuffs to fight dragons and all sorts of stuff. So, Elmeta's a must. Matthew is up to you. It's optional. I'll go over real quick why Matthew, he's good for starting content, and for endgame content, a lot of people say he's good, and I've seen him with like 1500 attack power, and I've seen him clearing high-end content. So, yeah, the reason he is so pliable early on in the game, though, is because Matthew's bond power is based off of, see, he has his own over here. It's based off of, to unlock the skills for it, the good ones down here. This is all based off of his intimacy score, which is based off of how intimate all your other characters are. So he's going to get access to these 1% and 2% fairly easy, okay? But, I mean, it goes a little bit, it definitely helps, but obviously you're not going to get him past level 1 unless you have, like these keys and the Seed of Vitality. Stuff like that. So you're gonna have to wait till later on to get that, but Matthew gets access to those before anybody else, so it's just a nice extra few percent to help him with everything. Also, he, depending on what other characters you pull, Matthew can either be a strike master, so like a cavalry damage unit if you need it, if you don't have a Leon or Lanford or even Sonya or anything. So he can do that, or he can just be an infantryman. Okay, so that's why work on those two, or at least Elmeta. Keep Elmeta in the loop. If you don't want to go for Matthew, if you already got Lanford, or if you got Leon, or if you got that part of your unit taken care of, then don't even worry about it. You can put Matthew away. Okay. So the other thing we're going to talk about is skills. What's really important and which ones you should concentrate on. As far as training goes, training your troops. Sorry, I said skills. I meant troop training. First of all, a lot of this is going to depend on which characters you are running. For instance, and this will be a good example, I'm running Bernhardt, and I'm using him to tank stuff and to spam a bunch of damage, and it's awesome. So what I make sure is that the Dark Guard are leveled up, and I make sure to try to get as many of these defensive and these hit points for my Dark Guard as possible, because I don't worry about the attack as much as I do the defense and all that good stuff, because they're going to be taking hits. So their defense just went up a little bit. I'm not lying. Okay, so when you go through these trees, think about the actual troops that you're using, that these trees are for, and what you're using those troops for, because you can use infantrymen as just shock troopers to do damage to stuff, or you can use them to tank things, okay? And Bernhardt can tank everything. Even, I mean, my high-end Bernhardt right now, he's even taken some cavalry hits and surviving in PvP, and that's surprising. So, all of these skill sets have one or two special skills that stand out. And in my mind, for infantry, this overrun tactics is amazing, okay? You need to work on this one and try to get this one as high as possible. Infantry attack and defense increase 15% when attacking enemies equal to or lower the hit points. So that's just awesome, okay? That's 15%. That's so nice to have. So remember that. And also emergency treatment. Damage taken by infantry is reduced by 13% when hit points is 80% or higher. With the Dark Guard and with Bernhard, this is amazing because the Dark Guard are constantly healing themselves a little bit, and you can typically stay at about 80% health. And then the damage you take is reduced 13%. I mean, this goes up to a higher percent, obviously, but it's really useful when you're taking hits, and that's what I have Bernhard doing. So I'm really trying to concentrate on this, okay? So infantry is good to work on, or lancers. I mean, I would work more on lancers if my tank was actually a lancer. And you can see why lancers are built for tanking, because they have skills like this. Continued combat, when hit point is below 70%, damage taken is decreased. That's awesome. You get a damage reduction from being 70% below. That's going to apply often and a lot. So they have a lot of skills like these, and this is why lancers are the preferred tank in the preferred tank class in the game. Most tanks are a lance class, okay? Only like Ledin and Bernhard. Ledin gets to be a priest, or actually an infantry, and Bernhard is an infantry, okay? Everybody else that tanks, even Elwin, when he gets his little tank class, or Altamüller, they're always spearmen. And it's just because spearmen are good at tanking. So definitely work on your guys here. The lancers are a must for most accounts, unless you know that your tank is running something other than lance units, okay? But you should definitely work on them if you are using any sort of tank that runs lancers. They are a must. Now, cavalry is one of these, it's kind of iffy. It depends on what you have. Personally, I don't put that much into it, because most of the cavalry units that I have, even Leon, let's say, he's going to run vampire bats. He's going to run, and it's a lot of flyer units that you're going to be running. So instead of working on cavalry training, which don't get me wrong, mine's still at level 14, instead I've worked on the flyers. And that's simply because, well, first of all, the Holy Pegasus are absolutely amazing for Luna. And Luna's awesome. On my alt account, I managed to pull her, so I will be definitely working on that. But over here we have angels, we have leviathans, and right here vampire bats. Okay, so these are a must. A lot of units use these troops, and let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of units that use them. They're weak to archers, okay? And in PvP, you'll see a lot of flyers too, all right? But archers can be dealt with, and there's a lot worse things out there than archers, okay? But typically, you're going to be using flyer units to deal with, like, infantry, lancers, cavalry. So, and it's also important to note that the water battle creatures are in here too, like the lizardmen, the tide masters. Guys, that is important stuff, because there's going to be battles that you fight that almost seem unfair, and then you realize, oh wait, I'm fighting in a swamp. If I put tide masters on, you know, my characters are always in the water, and during battles, tide masters get attack and defense by 16%, and that's only at level 3, you know, or 4, whatever this is. So they can definitely be a game changer. So don't count water troops out, okay? Especially the lizardmen and the leviathans. They do a lot. I love running the leviathans. I mean, they do a lot of damage when you're not in the water. When you get in the water, you get like 20% more. It's crazy. Okay, and then archers and assassin training. Now, I personally, this is my lowest level, and here's the bittersweetness about this. Okay, I think early on, there's not really much useful stuff here. There's, like, you know, for archers, it depends on what you're running. If you're running archers, then sure. Rogues, there's only so many SSR heroes that, like, really run the rogues and stuff early on. But end game, this tree has just, like, some of the coolest little heroes ever. You got your little shinobi over here. Crit increase, crit hits deal extra damage after battle, so it gives you like a barb, and they just look cool. And you got the samurai, who is wicked. Units damage is not reduced in melee battles. That's amazing, okay, right there, because for assassins and archers, their damage is actually reduced when something is attacking them in melee combat. These guys want to hit you from a distance. But these samurai guys, that doesn't apply to them. They're still going to do full damage to you when you assault them. So they can attack 2 blocks away. So they're a good unit to bring to make a rogue hero or an archer hero more tanky and be able to dish out more damage if they are going to get attacked in close quarters combat here and there. Preferably, you're still going to want to stay away and you're going to want to attack somebody from 2 blocks away. But, on some of these maps that are sketchy, if you want some extra protection, bring the samurai and you'll do more damage when people attack you. Also, the samurai looks sweet and he's just a little badass. Like, these guys just look awesome. There's no and about it. Look at their ability. Also, attack increases by 7% during melee attacks and crit, and these guys are just phenomenal. So the thing is, these are end game. You gotta wait kind of towards the end to get these, and there's only a couple units that really even use them right now. Okay? The Shinobi, though, Die Hard. So Matthew can run Shinobi, and I'm sure he can be very lethal. Okay? But, so I don't invest much stock into that. Holy and Demon Training, on the other hand, this is level 16 on my main. And it's right up there with my infantry. And that's because we live in a healer's meta. So this is important. Always train, because this isn't just your healer, okay? These are also your sorceresses and your damage dealers. So it's all in one. It's all of your magic users all together. This is that tree. And you're going to want to invest into this. Depending on which way you go, either you're going to be running skeletons and undead or you're not. Okay, depending on which fusion you're going, which heroes you have. You're going to want to get the bishops and inquisitors just because Almeda runs bishops, and bishops are actually, surprisingly, they're somewhat tanky. They sport a good magic defense. They can take some AoE blasts. They can shield Almeda pretty well from AoE magical attacks and stuff like that, and those are things that she's prone to get hit with while she's trying to stand around and throw her debuff and heal your units. Alright? These guys right here for mid game, these monks and zealots, they do they're great for lead-in, and they do a lot of damage to undead. So that's always nice. And then here is where we get to the bread and butter of the whole thing. Witches, which are good for early game. It's what I'm using right now on Geralt and Layla, and they are awesome. Geralt and Layla are actually putting in a lot of work for me on my free-to-play account. I will have to make a broadcast of that and let you guys see, because it's pretty ridiculous what they're doing. So they're using the witches. Sorceresses are amazing too. You can see I have them leveled up, and I wish they were twice the level. Okay, these make, man, they make a lot of units be able to do a lot more damage. They are definitely necessary for the high-end content where you need Basil or Lana to really do single target damage to a boss instead of just throwing AoEs. You're going to bring the sorceresses just because they do so much more. They're great. They're a little squishy, but you can work around it, okay? Because other than that, Basil and Lana are going to be running lava titans and those rock golems to have a giant, pretty much a wall of hit points to stand behind. But then, I would have to say, if you're throwing AoEs and debuffs, stand behind the rock titans. But if you want to do single target damage, go with the sorceresses all day. They increase your power rating through the roof too. And these skills are very important right here. Magic Void. Okay, demons and mages attack and defense increase by 20% when battling against enemies with debuffs. Oh my goodness. Even one debuff and boom, I get 20% more attack and defense against you. That's amazing. Definitely get that. And this one right here. Demons and mages attack and defense increase by 20% when battling against enemies with buffs. So, okay, you buffed yourself 20% attack. Boom. Now I have 20% attack and defense against you because you have one buff. So these are definitely worth getting. And every skill tree has like a nifty little skill or two that really pertains to their class as a soldier. Like, for instance, one of my favorite ones is the flyers. And this is what flyers can do that's so amazing. If you look back here, right here, when battling on terrain with defense up, so any piece of terrain that has like 5% defense, 10%, or whatever that percent that lets you mitigate the damage, any of those percentages, the flyer damage taken is decreased by, well, this one's only at 13%, but I'm sure you can get it all the way up to 20%. So pretty much if your flyer unit is hovering above any sort of terrain at all, they just take 20% less damage at all times. That's effing amazing, okay? Considering too that a lot of heroes, they will have a skill if they're using, like a flyer unit, they'll have a skill where if they're standing on terrain, they do more damage standing on terrain. So now you do more damage standing on terrain, and your troops take less damage by like 20% just from being on terrain. So, and flyers can very easily hover over terrain. Okay, they don't actually have to cross it to get to it. So that's very important for flyers. So guys, definitely keep your eyes out for this one. Okay, aerobatics. And same thing, if you're going to be using water units, I've worked on this one a little bit, obviously, to get the Leviathans, but this is what the water units get. When attacking enemies in the water, aquatic damage dealt increased by 16%. That's amazing. That's what you want, because, I mean, if you really want to capitalize on water battles, then just off of this right here, whatever water unit you're using in the water and already getting a bunch of bonuses to from being in the water, this stacks on top of that. So it makes these Leviathans way more deadly. The Leviathans get like 20% more attack when they're in the water, and they're already doing a lot of damage. They're hitting with like a 500 stat, and now they're going to do 20% more damage on top of that just because they're in the water. So keep an eye out for these guys, okay? So that's about it for skills. That's pretty much how you should kind of be doing your skills if you're beginning or mid game, but it's going to vary depending on which units you have, which units you've pulled, okay? So, and that's kind of just what I wanted to cover with you guys, because that's what I'm going through right now with my mini account. All right, my mini accounts, like I said, I just showed them to you at the beginning of this. They're like level 33, and it's fun. It's a fun little level because I'm getting to the point where I can run my alt account with my account through Guild Wars, and I can start, running my other account with this account through dragons and maps and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. It's been keeping me busy, and really I'm doing most of this for my guild, so I can. Yeah, with 2 accounts, I should be able to clear Guild War for us like clockwork, like candy. So we'll see how that goes. This is Mobile Gamers Unite. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good day.